Chapter 27. Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. Let another man praise thee, and not thine own mouth, a stranger, and not thine own lips. A stone is heavy, and the sand weighty, but a fool's wrath is heavier than them both. Wrath is cruel, and anger is outrageous, but who is able to stand before envy? Open rebuke is better than secret love. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. The full soul loatheth an honeycomb, but to the hungry soul every bitter thing is sweet. As a bird that wandereth from her nest, so is a man that wandereth from his place. Ointment and perfume rejoice the heart, so doth the sweetness of a man's friend by hearty counsel. Thine own friend and thy father's friend forsake not, neither go into thy brother's house in the day of thy calamity. For better is a neighbor that is near than a brother far off. My son, be wise, and make my heart glad, that I may answer him that reproacheth me. A prudent man foreseeth the evil, and hideth himself, but the simple pass on, and are punished. Take his garment that is surety for a stranger, and take a pledge of him for a strange woman. He that blessed his friend with a loud voice, rising early in the morning, it shall be counted a curse to him. A continual dropping in a very rainy day, and a contentious woman are alike. Whosoever hideth her, hideth the wind, and the ointment of his right hand which bewrayeth itself. Iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. Whoso keepeth the fig tree shall eat the fruit thereof, so he that waiteth on his master shall be honored. As in water face answereth to face, so the heart of man to man. Hell and destruction are never full, so the eyes of man are never satisfied. As the fining pot for silver and the furnace for gold, so is a man to his praise. Though thou shouldst bray a fool in a mortar among wheat with a pestle, yet will not his foolishness depart from him. Be thou diligent to know the state of thy flocks, and look well to thy herds. For riches are not forever, and doth the crown endure to every generation? The hay appeareth, and the tender grass sheweth itself, and herbs of the mountains are gathered. The lambs are for thy clothing, and the goats are the price of the field. And thou shalt have goat's milk enough for thy food, for the food of thy household, and for the maintenance for thy maidens. We're almost to the end of Proverbs. Lots of good advice here. Here we're starting to see some of them repeated exactly the way they were in previous ones, but lots of new stuff too. Verse 1, Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring. None of us really know whether or not we're even going to be alive tomorrow. So we can say, tomorrow we're going to do this, but maybe we aren't going to be able to. Let another man praise thee, and not thine own mouth, a stranger, and not thine own lips. Good advice. If somebody's going to utter praise, don't say, I am so wonderful. Everything is so great. I am so fabulous. Let somebody else be there. It carries better if it's somebody else. Verse 3, a stone is heavy. You get some stones are about almost 1,000 pounds per cubic foot. Do you know that? And at least hundreds of pounds, most of them. Sand is weighty, but a fool's wrath is heavier than them both. I've experienced that. I've had individuals who have been fools, literally, and who have been very wrathful because of something that they thought I said or did that they did not like, and caused a great deal of trouble in life, and later on came back to apologize to me, but that didn't do me much good because they caused me problems with other people, but they wouldn't talk to them. Sometimes it's hard to deal with other people. Verse 4, wrath is cruel, and anger is outrageous, and who is able to stand before envy? That's an interesting thing. You can deal with anger sometimes. If somebody is angry with you, sometimes you can deal with that anger that they have. But How do you deal with somebody who's envious of you? Because envy is not usually something that they show. And people that envy you usually, I shouldn't say usually, but people that envy you usually are negative about you and put you down to other people. Always hard to deal with that. Faithful, verse 6, are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. If a friend says something to you that hurts, it's usually because it's advantageous for you to know that. They value the friendship and they tell you because you need to hear something. The kisses of an enemy. Judas and Jesus. Judas gave him a kiss. Talk about deceitful. Verse 7, the full soul loatheth a honeycomb, but to the hungry soul every bitter thing is sweet. In other words, if you are absolutely stuffed, even a honeycomb, which was in Jewish tradition, the sweetest of all things, the most highly sought after of all treats, even if you're so full you can't even stomach that. You can't have it. You can't eat it. But to the hungry soul, every bitter thing is sweet. That also can be taken in terms of correction, wisdom, knowledge, things you're being told. To somebody who's full of themselves, even the sweet words of things that they need to hear for correction are loathed. But to the hungry soul, the person who desperately wants wisdom and knowledge and understanding, even the most bitter things are sweet and treasured unto them. And verse 9, ointment and perfume rejoice the heart. Always nice to have those pretty smells there. So doth the sweetness of a man's friend by hearty counsel. So somebody gives you really good advice, that makes your heart rejoice. People usually don't invest the time to help you unless they care. That isn't always the case, but it usually is. And you can usually tell whether or not the person is caring because it's pretty consistent. It's always in your best interest. Thine own friend and thy father's friend forsake not, verse 10. Neither go into thy brother's house in the day of thy calamity, for better is a neighbor that is near than a brother far off. Okay? Don't forsake family friends, thy friends and the friends of your father. Friends of your father very often are not only wise, but they're able to do all kinds of things for you that you can never get done yourself. They have connections with other wise men. They can open doors for you that you would never believe. Just because he's your father's friend doesn't mean he won't be your friend. Usually, your father's friends will be more than happy to be your friends because they were your father's friends. My son, be wise, verse 11, and make my heart glad, that I may answer him that reproacheth me. Every once in a while we'll be criticized, but if our children, our sons, are wise, and that makes our hearts glad. And so when somebody says, well, you really botched it here, we can say, yeah, maybe I did, but you know what? I have a son that's a real winner. That's always a good thing to say. Verse 13, take his garment that is surety for a stranger, and take a pledge of him for a strange woman. In other words, if you don't know people, take something to make sure that if they say something, they can deliver it. So you take something to guarantee that you're not going to get stuck with nothing. A continual dropping in a very rainy day and a contentious woman are alike. We've heard that almost exactly the same phrase. A continual drop, the rain, very depressing, drip, 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 and a contentious woman, drip, 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 negative, 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 very much alike. It could also be said of men. Iron sharpeth iron, verse 17. So a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friends. Iron sharpeneth iron. It takes good hard iron to sharpen iron. And so if you have a friend who is very much like you, the two of you can sharpen each other. Can become better. Good advice. And last but not least, verse 20, hell and destruction are never full. So the eyes of man are never satisfied, because the eyes of man always want more. Never satisfied with what they got, some of us.